What's going on, everybody, and welcome back to the channel. So, I was just watching Monday Night Football, and I was just, chilling out, hanging out, trying to watch some NFL football, and the next thing I know, Twitter just explodes because of South Carolina, which is the last thing that anyone really expected to see. Shane Beamer just out of nowhere hits up the transfer portal, picks up former Oklahoma tight end, and a pretty legit weapon in Austin Stogner. But then, just a few minutes later, after picking up Austin Stogner, they also pick up former five-star quarterback Spencer Rattler, who is now the highest-rated quarterback in the entire school's history. Just like that. So what does this mean for South Carolina and the rest of college football going forward after this news just dropped pretty suddenly a few hours ago? Well, let's just start by saying this is a huge win for Coach Beamer and the South Carolina program as a whole. Regardless of what you think about Stogner or Rattler, both of them are much better players than the current players on roster at South Carolina, either last year or this upcoming season. They are going to win their position battles, no question asked. Just they're far and away better than the current players at those positions on South Carolina's roster. And even if you don't think either one of them are very good, just winning this recruiting battle in the portal says a lot about the potential trajectory of the South Carolina program going forward. I mean, this time last year, people were very skeptical about the Shane Beamer hire at all, seeing as how he had never been a head coach before. People thought he was going to be in his father's shadow the whole time. There wasn't all that much known about him. A lot of people were very uneasy about this hire to begin with this time last year. And now, after just 1 year of being at the program, you look, he has had some pretty great on-field success considering what he was working with. And then they have this recruiting class that they're putting together right now that's currently number 15 in the country for recruiting and the number 5 ranked class in the country for transfers. And that's with only 2 players in there so far, Austin Stogner and Spencer Rattler. That's it. So there's a lot of room for them to grow. Early signing day is right around the corner, so they could really move up even more in the normal recruiting classes. Well, I guess technically they could go down too, but kind of based on the momentum we're seeing, it's likely that they'll either maintain or move up. And this momentum that the program is starting to build is honestly just super impressive to see so far. Shane has begun by building an outstanding culture at a program that was at the time considered to be on life support. It was kind of a dead program, if you will. And seeing him just already starting to build great momentum there is, like I said, super impressive. I mean, even the most optimistic of South Carolina fans this year thought it was going to kind of be a wash, kind of a wasted season. There wasn't hardly any talent on the team. Brand new head coach who's never been a head coach before. He's never even been a coordinator before. And everybody kind of just assumed this was going to be kind of a down year and kind of a wash for them. And then they go out and they go 6-6 and make a bowl game. They beat Florida when they were 20-point underdogs. They beat them by 20. Absolutely insane. They go out, they upset Auburn. And I know both of those teams are down, but South Carolina's down, right? I mean, they just had their coach leave, a bunch of players transfer. They were starting a freaking graduate assistant at quarterback, for God's sakes. I mean, they are also very down. And for Shane Beamer to pick up those 2 big wins in year 1 is massive. To make a bowl game is massive, especially if they can capitalize with a win to carry on some momentum into the offseason and into the postseason. That could be absolutely huge for South Carolina going forward. And I'm just honestly shocked that they've even got this far this early on. Shane Beamer definitely has them going in the right direction. And I think a lot of that is really because he legitimately believes that South Carolina is a top-tier, elite-level program that is a dream job for him. And because he honestly, genuinely feels that way, the whole program sort of gets this positive vibe, this genuine feel to it, builds a very strong, real, honest culture at the program. And that is actually huge. I mean, building a culture on positive values at a program that is genuine. It's not just a pipe dream. It is a very real feeling. Is absolutely huge for on-the-field success, one, which we've already seen as the players start to buy in, the fans start to buy in, you get some momentum going around the program. but it is absolutely gigantic in the recruiting effort. When you are being honest with these kids, they know it. They know when you're deceiving them as well. They can tell. And when you genuinely and honestly love your program and feel that it is a true dream job for any coach, especially for yourself, and you can't see yourself going anywhere else no matter who offers, that makes recruiting so much easier for you. And you can already start to see that taking place. I mean, I don't think anybody really expected them to have this good of a recruiting class. Certainly nobody expected them to pick up a guy like a Spencer Rattler or even an Austin Stogner in the transfer portal this early. And I think a lot of that, like I said, goes back to building a true, genuine culture and finding a coach who truly believes that you guys or your program is the place to be. That makes all the difference in the world. You see it with Shane Beamer. You've seen it with Sam Pittman in Arkansas. Very similar programs and coaching hires there, who are both having pretty similarly very successful results. And I think that is absolutely huge. Early signing day is literally right around the corner, happening this week, starting on Wednesday. So we will have to see how strong this class is at the finish. But so far, it's been really impressive given the overall state of the program. And you add in all this transfer portal mayhem that they're absolutely pulling off right now, and it just gets even better. I mean, there's no telling what a guy like Spencer Rattler could do for you in the portal going forward, could do for you in the recruiting cycle going forward. It could be massive. I mean, it could really get even more momentum going and get the ball rolling behind the recruiting class, even more than Shane Beamer already has. So this could be a huge win. And like I said, I'm not really so sure that Carolina is done in the portal either. I'm sure they're probably going to pick up one or two or even maybe more guys than that in the portal so far. So just, wait and see how the rest of this unfolds. If it kind of goes the way it's going right now, then they could end up with a really, really good class considering where they are and where they were coming into this season. But what does all this mean for South Carolina on the field? More of the short-term stuff. Well, it does mean that for the first time in, maybe ever, they have a legit NFL talent at quarterback. And before you guys get mad and talk about Connor Shaw, outstanding college quarterback, not a legit NFL talent at quarterback. I'm sorry, there's a difference between a great college quarterback and a great NFL quarterback. Rattler has the potential and the talent to be a great NFL quarterback, which something South Carolina really hasn't had maybe ever. At the very least, not in a long time. And now don't get me wrong, Rattler has his own issues for sure, as shown by him getting benched at Oklahoma this year, replaced by a true freshman. He is very turnover prone, and sometimes he just gets out of rhythm, and he really, really struggles to recover and get back into a groove and get the offense rolling. When he's on, he is on, and he looks like, a future first-round NFL draft pick, but when he is off, he is very off, and he can stay very off for extended periods of time. So he has a lot of growing and maturing to do still. He's certainly not a finished product, guaranteed top 10 NFL draft pick right now. But the point is that his upside and even what he is today is far and above better than anything South Carolina has had in recent memory, and certainly better than anything they currently have on roster. I mean, like I said, they literally were just starting a freaking graduate assistant who was a coach coming into the season. He just started at quarterback for half the year for them. That's how down South Carolina has been and were this year in particular, especially at the quarterback position. Rattler is a huge step up on offense and just at that position in particular, but for the offense as a whole. And I'm sure that Coach Beamer is absolutely thrilled to finally have someone with a high-level talent who can make plays of their own. If things don't go according to script, they can make something happen. They have the ability to stretch a defense and really stress a defensive coordinator and put them in spots where they have to cover people downfield. Whereas this past year, you really didn't have that concern. And then there's Austin Stogner, who is currently a better receiving weapon than anyone else on South Carolina's roster, either this past current season or what they're going to have going into next season. He is going to be far and away above anything that they currently have or will have next year. And this was a huge point of weakness on South Carolina's roster this past season. They don't have and didn't have any real perimeter playmakers that scared a defense or even threatened really a defense or a defensive coordinator. You couple that with the bad quarterback play that they've been having, and you get a very pedestrian offense that can't stretch the defense downfield or threaten them over the top. They can't get good run after the catch plays, and so they're left with just running the football. That's really all they have, and they have really talented backs. Their offensive line's kind of weak, though, and when the other team knows that you can't threaten them with the pass game, you're not going to run effectively, even if you do have a very good offensive line and very good running backs. It's just not going to happen. So now you add in Spencer Rattler, you add in Austin Stogner, and then you add in the rest of their recruiting class that they're picking up this season and any other potential transfers they may pick up, and you can really open the offense wide open. I mean, you get Spencer Rattler able to throw the ball and stretch a defense. You get Stogner, who's finally a guy who can win one-on-one battles for you, pick up some other pieces on the outside, couple that with an improved offensive line and good running backs like Kevin Harris, Marshawn Lloyd. You can really start to see how the offense could just open up all the way, become a wide open offense, and has a lot of potential, at least a lot more potential than they had this past year. And that could make their offense a lot more balanced, a lot more explosive, and just overall way more effective, make it a lot easier on their coaching staff going forward. Long story short, this is just a massive upgrade on the field for South Carolina in the immediate future. There should be no questions about that, regardless of how you feel about Stogner or Rattler. It's a huge upgrade for South Carolina. And now Rattler has had some potential character issues, mainly off the field, that could end up causing him not to work out. But I don't know him personally. I can't speak on any of that. It's mostly just rumors, whispers of things. I have no way to verify or fact check any of it. I'm not even going to factor that into this video. You'll likely see a bunch of that stuff online on Twitter. And, who knows how true it is? Nobody knows. I'm not going to judge a guy based off stuff that could just be complete conjecture. There's not any objective fact behind it, at least nothing that I can prove or verify, nothing that I'm aware of. And so I'm not even going to factor that in, although you will probably see some stuff about it online. Now, as for the potential impact this could have on the rest of college football, it could be super minor, but it could also be massive. I mean, if Rattler turns out to be a great or elite level quarterback, that could turn South Carolina into a contending level team, then that's obviously absolutely massive for the rest of college football. This is pretty unlikely, though, because Carolina is still a ways away from being a true national level contender, even if Rattler turns out to be really good. I mean, he would have to be great, and I mean like Heisman winning great right out of the gate to have any hope of making South Carolina a true national level contender. On the other hand, if Rattler were to just fizzle out and kind of fail, kind of be a bust, then this wouldn't really mean all that much in the grand scheme of things because it wouldn't have much impact on the trajectory of South Carolina as a program. But I think that that's not really the correct way to judge the impact of this pickup. Is not the potential effectiveness on field. I think that's probably going to fall somewhere in the middle between a minor and a massive impact, just because most things usually do take the middle approach in anything. That's generally going to be what's right. But I feel like the big impact here is going to be in the recruiting world. I mean, I don't think Rattler's going to make South Carolina an overnight contender, but the recruiting implications could be massive. I mean, South Carolina just went out and got a top-level name. Regardless of what you think about him, he was a top-level name as far as people who wanted to get him on campus and wanted to get him on their team. And really, they got two top-level names, if you count Stogner, too, who was not as high of a name and not as, elite of a name as Spencer Rattler, but still a very highly touted guy in the portal right now. They just went out and they got them. And they got them while other teams who are better programs than them, bigger programs than them, with more success than them, both historically and currently, also wanted them. And to me, that is absolutely huge. I mean, it is a sign that South Carolina can go out and compete with other top-level names in the sport, regardless of where they're located in the country. I mean, these guys are out in Oklahoma. What ties do they have to South Carolina? Obviously, Shane Beamer. But as far as regionally, there's no regional connection there. And so if they can go out and compete with other top-level names across the country to get elite-level recruits and players that everybody wants, that is absolutely huge. That's something South Carolina has not been able to do, at least not consistently, over the last few years, maybe even ever, you could argue. That could really, really shake things up if they can start to do that consistently. If this is a sign of things to come, that could affect the standing of South Carolina as a program, could shift the balance of power in a pretty wide open SEC East for everybody behind Georgia. I mean, name the second best team in the SEC East. Florida, maybe? Tennessee? Kentucky? I mean, it's pretty open, to be honest. And if you start to swing and hit on a few of these big-time recruits like that, you can really shift the balance of power there beyond Georgia. And it'll just be very interesting to see the long-term impact that this sort of thing could have on the perception and the national opinion of the South Carolina program going forward. For Shane Beamer, for the program as a whole, could be huge. It's going to be very interesting to see how it all plays out. But overall, this is just a massive win for South Carolina as a program, both in the short term and in the long term, as Shane Beamer attempts to build a winning program in Columbia. And as someone who lives in that area, I can assure you people are absolutely buzzing about what he has been able to do and what the future may hold for them going forward. But with all that being said, if you have made it this far in the video, just go ahead, please leave a like and subscribe to the channel for more content like this in the future. Really helps me out a lot. Does wonders for the channel. Also, leave a comment down below on how you guys think this news will affect USC, USC as in South Carolina, of course, and college football as a whole going forward. Anyway, thank you guys so much for watching, and I will see you all next time.